What's good? It's your boy Fanon. I'm gonna talk about two things in this video. One is gonna be Jeff Horn's setback that he suffered in his training camp because he was hoping that Ray Robinson could help him prepare for Terrence Crawford. And the second is going to be the update on Jermall Charlo versus Centeno and the bout that is Hugo Centeno and the change of events that have happened because of an injury he suffered and this fight being pushed back. So before I say that though, please, if you're not already, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon. I'm really trying to push the channel towards doing a lot more live streams, and the way that you get notified of live streams is if you get the bell icon, because I hit the bell icon because I don't schedule them on a regular basis. But thank you to all the subscribers. Thank you to all the super chats. Also, I'm going to be more active on Twitter. So, at the bottom of the description box, please, after you watch the video, please follow me on Twitter, and I'll be able to send out a lot of the information that I talk about in the videos directly to you via Twitter. Now, that said, Jeff Horn, in an article that just came out from Boxing Scene by Boxing Clever, Jeff Horn suffers camp setback for Crawford after a Robinson knockout. Jeff Horn's trainer, Glenn Rushton, admits that last weekend they suffered a setback when Ray Robinson was knocked out by Yordenis Ugas. Ugas and Robinson were fighting in the final IBF welterweight eliminator at the at the Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas as part of the Danny Garcia and Brandon Rios undercard. Horn had planned to use Robinson as one of their main sparring partners for the upcoming defense of the WBO welterweight championship against Terrence Crawford, which is scheduled for April 14th in Las Vegas. Rustin is now evaluating their options to bring in a new sparring partner to replace Robinson, who was viewed as a very good selection for them. He was shocked at the reckless way Robinson fought in the ring that night. The trainer admits that it hasn't been easy to secure sparring partners who resemble the fighting style of Crawford, but they have several names that they won't discuss at the moment. Now that he has lost, that fight that has certainly thrown a spanner in the works, Rushton told the Weekend Australian. I am just weighing up all the options, but I'm trying to find the best I can. But there is not a lot of southpaws. There are not all that many that are right up there in quality. We had all agreed to wait and see how Robinson, came through his fight, and we would go from there. He didn't fight really well at all. You have to say, where is his head at? Where is his head at? You don't want a fighter to come out here and their head is in the wrong place. They are all still licking their wounds, and they are not very motivated. If he had won, he would have been very motivated. I believe that he would have gone to number 2 in the rankings if he had won. Then we would have had a different ball game, a highly motivated to become world champion. His only losses were to Sean Porter and then an early one in his career. So very credible losses. His form reads beautifully. I think he was the last guy to beat Terrence Crawford actually when they were in the amateurs a long time ago. He had all the right form and very, very similar style. Now I am scouring the world looking for who I can get. It is tough. There are not a lot of guys who move exactly like Crawford. You have to try to find someone as talented as he and is on the way up. There are a couple that I'm looking at, but I don't want to name names because I haven't spoken with them yet. So, as you can see, Glenn Rushton feels as if Ugas knocked out his sparring partner and he doesn't want his main sparring partner, and now he's got to figure out how to go finding somebody to replace him. That could probably throw a kink in his plan because he's trying to see, how can he get Jeff Horn ready to fight a southpaw, a fast southpaw that moves very well. Now, his assessment of Ray Robinson fighting just like Terrence Crawford. Obviously there's holes in that, but I mean, I can appreciate that the guy Ray Robinson is a world class fighter, and that he would be able to go in there and give Jeff Horn, give Jeff Horn some rounds and get him a look at the southpaw. But here's the problem, even with Ray Robinson, is that Terrence Crawford switches from southpaw to orthodox. He can fight southpaw. He can fight orthodox. So I don't think, if Glenn Rushton is looking around for somebody that's going to fight exactly like Terrence Crawford, I don't think he's going to be able to find him. And far be it from me to advise trainers what they should focus on. But from what I can see, I think they just need to be very, very careful with Jeff Horn's face. Because I just have a true belief that this fight is going to get stopped on cuts, that Terrence Crawford has seen that Jeff Horn is his face is opened up in back-to-back fights. And of course, the guys that are around him know how to read, presumably, and they know that Jeff Horn had to have plastic surgery in between the two fights to take care of a cut that happened in the training leading up to his last fight. Now, as far as Ray Robinson and Ugas, Ugas is now trying to move on. I do believe, and he might be fighting Errol Spence, or because Carlos Ocampo is acting like he's saying that he might not be ready. And I think that's probably more of a case if Carlos Ocampo is trying to wait until he's ready to fight Errol Spence, he's going to be waiting a long time, because I do believe that was going to be a stoppage loss. But it's just interesting to see, man, how these guys talk about how he talked about Ray Robinson, and how Ray Robinson might be licking his wounds, and whether he's going to come into the camp motivated or not. I mean, I would think that he might want to talk to Ray Robinson and see whether or not Ray Robinson was actually motivated or not. I think that's a pretty good. I'm not going to doubt his Glenn Rushton's experience. Clearly, he has more experience than I do. But it does seem like, in a case, for example, of another guy that we've seen fight recently and lose a fight where a lot of people thought he lost badly. Clearly, he didn't lose as badly as Ray Robinson did, because he didn't get knocked out. And that's Chris Eubank. And Chris Eubank, although he was criticized for this, the day after he lost to George Groves in the World Boxing Super Series tournament, he was back in the gym working. It might have been nervous energy or whatever. But from what I could see of Chris Eubank, he didn't lose his desire, at least from what he exhibited the next day after that fight. And it might be the case that Ray Robinson is even more motivated to get back, right? He could see what it is that he did, that he believes he did incorrectly, and try to improve on his game. So, I mean, if I was Glenn Rushton, I wouldn't just straight away throw him out the window because he lost, unless he's that the knockout caused him to a concussion or something that might be a risk to his health. I don't necessarily see why that should just take Ray Robinson out of the picture for that, and he has to lose that payday, and also lose the opportunity to train with another world-class fighter and improve upon themselves. Now, as far as if just assume that Ray Robinson was in the best shape of his life, that he had knocked out Ugas, and he was ready to roll in the training camp with Jeff Horn, it still don't matter, because Ray Robinson is not Terrence Crawford. He doesn't fight like Terrence Crawford. I'm sure he can imitate Terrence Crawford and give him some of those looks, but the only thing that I can see that's going to really save Jeff Horn is the fact that Jeff Horn is bigger than Terrence Crawford, and that he might be able to rough him up or do whatever. But at the end of the day, I think Jeff Horn is really going to be outclassed in this fight. But it does, to me, and I've said this on previous times I've commented on it, it is going to be a really good example to see whether or not Terrence Crawford's power can affect a big welterweight. I'm confident that Terrence Crawford could be able to box his way to a win, but I am very interested to see when Terrence Crawford starts to sit down, which he will do. I mean, eventually Terrence Crawford is going to sit down and he's going to start throwing hands. Maybe it's in a spot. I mean, he's not as obvious and God, what I want to say, as orchestrated as Lamont Peterson is, where Lamont Peterson will just do it for streaks of time. Terrence Crawford seems to be able to switch it up multiple times in the same round, where he'll box, then he'll sit down, and I just don't think that there's really anybody out there that's going to be able to prepare Jeff Horn for Terrence Crawford, except for maybe Manny Pacquiao. Maybe they can convince Manny Pacquiao to come out there. That southpaw who's got pretty quick hands and quick feet to come out and do it. I know their styles aren't the same, and they might, have more serious business that they want to take out together. But, hey man, Ray Robinson ain't gonna help him out of that anyway. But, I do feel bad for the fact that Ray Robinson is gonna lose, not only get knocked out in the ring by Ugas, but then he also gets knocked out by knocked out of an opportunity to make a good payday as a sparring partner for the WBO title defense of Jeff Horn against Terrence Crawford. But at the end of the day, my man, it's not going to matter. Glenn, it's not going to matter. Terrence Crawford's going to beat the brakes. Is going to beat that. He's either going to box him or he's going to beat the brakes off of him. But either way it goes, I still see it stopping on cuts. And I think Terrence Crawford's going to be strategic about that. But, Ray Robinson, and maybe Jeff Horn can come out of that victorious. Right? He did it against Pacquiao. Many people wrote him off against Pacquiao. He has two hands. He has 2 feet. He is a boxer. He's got championship experience. He's got, he's got good size. He's got good strength. Right? And he's got a will to win. But I think that's almost dang near a non-issue. Now, on to the second part of this video. I just want to finish up and talk about Jermall Charlo versus Hugo Centeno. Has been pushed back to April 21st. I had done a video earlier today talking about the fight. Talked about an article that was written. I think it was Keith Idec that did it. And, Jermall Charlo was in an interview just ready to go. He's talking about Hugo Centeno, ready to get with him and prove that he's the best guy at 160 pounds. But let me go through the argument, then the article, then I'll talk about it. Middleweight contender Hugo Centeno suffered a rib injury while training, and his interim WBC welterweight world championship bout with Jermall Charlo has been rescheduled for a Premier Boxing Champions event on Saturday, April 21st, live on Showtime. The March 3rd Showtime Championship boxing telecast continues as a doubleheader beginning at 9 p.m. at the Barclays Center in New York. The main event, WBC heavyweight world champion Deontay Wilder will make the seventh and most difficult defense of his title against fellow unbeaten heavyweight Luis Ortiz. In the opening bout of the March 3rd doubleheader, Andre Durrell and Jose Escatgu will meet for the interim IBF Super Middleweight World Championship in an immediate rematch of one of 2017's best and most controversial fights. Charlo versus Centeno will now be a featured bout on the previously announced April 21st Showtime Championship Boxing telecast presented by World Boxing Champions. 4-division world champion Adrian Bronner will face undefeated former champion Omar Figueroa, and one of the brightest boxing young stars, Gervonta Davis, will return to the ring as the 23-year-old undefeated world champion looks to regain a title in the 130-pound class. While the injury to Centeno was unfortunate, we're pleased to have the flexibility to keep the Charlo-Centeno fight on our 2018 boxing schedule, said Steven Espinoza, President, Sports and Event Programming, Showtime Networks Incorporated. The March 3rd Showtime championship boxing event remains a can't miss night for any fight fan, and with Deontay Wilder facing the most dangerous opponent of his career in Luis Ortiz, and Andre Durrell and Jose Eustachiou settling the score in a rematch of one of 2017's best fights. I'm devastated, said Centeno. I've been in the gym for a long time. Being so close to a fight and accomplishing my dream of a world title is devastating. It happened during sparring. I tried to work through the pain, and as the day progressed and the adrenaline subsided, I had to go to the ER and get checked out. It's it's a good enough injury that it has to be postponed. Nothing was broken, but it was severe enough to keep me from fighting. I was just about to peak. Now I have to taper off a bit and cut back on my body recovery and then pick it up and get some momentum back. I'm ready to go, said Charlo. I'm 167 pounds right now, and this was the best camp I've ever had, so I'm disappointed. I'm at a loss for words. When you want something so bad and you don't get it, you can't be a kid about it. You just have to deal with it. I'm hungry and I'm ready to get back in the ring. I'm still coming to fight though, and I'm going to be there to support Deontay. I love the Barclays Center and all my fans in Brooklyn. Now, man, that's a tough break, man. That is a tough break for Charlo. It's a tough break for Centeno. I'm gonna tell you though, man. There was one line in what in the article that just seemed a little phony. He said, I tried to work through the pain, and as the day progressed and the adrenaline subsided, I had to go to the ER to get it checked out. Hey man, somebody wrote that. Somebody wrote that, and this adrenaline subsided. I mean, who speaks like that in a regular sentence, man? But anyway, at least it's good to know that there was an injury and it's not a fact. Wasn't Centeno selling out, and there doesn't have to be another replacement. That also bodes well for that whole 160-pound situation, because I held a live stream earlier today, and people were wondering and asking what the effect of that was going to be as far as who was going to be the interim 160-pound WBC title holder. And the WBC has this fight being for the interim title just in case Gennady Golovkin gets beat and Charlo decides not to take the belt. But if Gennady Golovkin wins and he decides not to fight Charlo, or Canelo Alvarez wins and he decides that he doesn't want to hold the WBC belt and fight whoever the winner of the bout is, then the winner of Centeno and Jermall Charlo become the champion. I'm not going to mince words here. Centeno probably thought to himself, look, I got some pain in my ribs, and if he's got a broken rib a bruised rib or something like that, he doesn't want to get in there with Jermall Charlo not being able to take body shots. You know what I mean? So, I guess this team figured it was better, just to see if they could hold it off and push it back. So they've held it off and pushed it back. That is a 6 weeks back. So that's gonna throw Jermall Charlo off, because he was already pretty much right there. And, on the other side, maybe it's a little bit of gamesmanship on the side of Centeno trying to throw him off. I don't know. But, any way it goes, I think this fight with Centeno and Jermall Charlo, it's going to be Jermall Charlo. But I'm glad that they're having it. And that does say good things about HBO Boxing and HBO Boxing's, because they have so many fight cards lined up that they had somewhere to move them. I'm really happy for Charlo and for Centeno that it's not a situation where they don't know when they're going to have the fight, that they got to figure out where there's going to be dates, and trying to go through all that stuff. Already having, like Steven Espinoza said, the flexibility in their schedule for Showtime, already having so many fight cards laid out in Brooklyn, because they have all of these cards set up for basically the same venue they can just, maybe get rid of probably kick a couple of far undercard fights off or whatever and adjust the schedule and allow this to be a triple header, and then have the Gervonta Davis, the fight on the card on April 22nd be the triple header, and have this one be a single header. That's pretty good. That's efficient management on the part of Showtime and Steven Espinoza. So, that is what it is. Of course, I favor Terrence Crawford in the Jeff Horn fight, and I definitely favor Jermall Charlo in the fight that just got rescheduled with Centeno. But hey, man, like I always say, man, you got to see it in the ring, and accidents happen, upsets happen, and it'll be exciting to see. And with that, I'm out. Peace.